Well, it's been quite the day, both for work and for news. I've obviously put out a couple of videos today, one of which on this royal racist saga, and I thought I'd give you some of my own views here on Black Belt Secrets. So please do subscribe, and thank you all very much. We've just hit 100,000 subscribers, so I'll be getting another one of those silver play buttons to go on the wall next to this one very shortly. So what do I think about what's really going on here? Now, I went into detail on Black Belt Barrister about what's happened with this Dutch version of the book, which has named two individuals of the royal family and again brought them into a bad light. Now, to put it absolutely bluntly, in my own personal opinion, based on all of the facts and realistic assessment of what's going on, I don't believe this is just an accident, because they can't just insert names in there unless there's one bad actor who's nefariously decided to slip something in, and that takes quite a lot of effort to get past several editors and probably legal advisors that they would have had to put this book out. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, the writer, Mr. Omid Scobie, has written a book called Endgame, which has been translated into different languages, and the Dutch version has, whilst it's been referring to conversations that Meghan Markle has said that she had with members of the royal family, the Dutch version named two individuals that these conversations were said to have taken place with. Now, the English version actually said that they couldn't name who these individuals were for fear of legal repercussions. Quite rightly so, because any allegation or imputation or anything else along the lines of racism would be inherently defamatory. If somebody were to say that I was being racist in some way, I would take great offense to that. And if they did that publicly, it would inherently damage someone's reputation. And you could quite rightly find yourself at the wrong end of a lawsuit because of that. Now, I say that I don't think it's by accident because, in my view, and I've seen many comments from you guys, I assume some of you guys watching this channel, but over on Black Belt Barrister on the comments there, saying that you work as an editor, you work in book publishing and all these kind of things. And there is no way in some of the comments that I've read in their views that this could have made its way to a book past everybody else without it being the intention. And it just doesn't make sense. How can names end up in a book as a result of a mistranslation or an error or anything else other than they decided to put the names in there? It just doesn't make sense. And even then, from what I understand, obviously I can't say too much, I won't say too much. From what I understand, there's no particularization. And what I mean by that, because a few people have asked the question, what I mean by that is, if I were to say, let's say there's an argument of fraud. If I were to say publicly that Mr. or Mrs. Y was responsible for some kind of fraud, in order to back up what I'm saying about that person so that it's not necessarily defamatory, i.e. if my opinion is based on a fact, then let's say someone is actually convicted of fraud, or even if they are being prosecuted for fraud, and there's some gray areas in between there. But let's say they've been convicted, and I say this person is a fraudster. That's not defamatory necessarily because they've been convicted of fraud. So they are on that occasion a fraud. But let's say that I said that they've done some new fraud, then this might change the scope again. But if I give a basis to rest my opinion, then it's at least got some meritorious grounding in fact. And if I don't do that, and I don't give any details of what it is that I say they've done to be fraudulent, then it's unparticularized. I haven't detailed what it is this allegation is all about, and you are just left with the view formed by what I've said that this person is a fraudster. And therefore, their reputation in your eyes is going to be damaged. Now, the bigger the reputation and the bigger the reach of the person that is publishing that statement, the bigger the damage is likely to be. So this person is likely to have their reputation severely damaged. And also it does depend on who they are and what standing they have. So if they are a person in any kind of public setting or in any kind of public eye, then they are more likely then to have their reputation damaged. If it's someone that no one has ever really heard of, and I just said a person's name and this person had done X, Y, and Z, but you've no idea who they are, and it's not likely to damage their reputation, they're not going to be able to prove serious harm because it doesn't matter to you because you don't know who they are. Then that's obviously much less significant. But if you do know who they are and you are left with an impression that severely damages their reputation in your eyes, then that can well be chalked up as serious harm. Now, this also goes for repeating allegations. So a lot of people have been questioning whether Piers Morgan is in any trouble. If you want a more detailed version of that, I have a video over on Black Belt Barrister, and we've had our Alan Robertshaw do one on Art of Law to give his views there as well. I sort of sat in on that to have a chat with him about that as well. I will link both of those videos in the description below. But the spoiler, the short version, is that we don't think that he's in any trouble at all, because he made absolutely clear to say that this was absolutely rubbish and that he supports the royal family and so on. Now, some have criticized him for naming these individuals in his video. Some of you might agree with that. Some of you might think, well, it's perfectly fine. Some of you might think that these names were out in the public in the Dutch version of the book. Therefore, everyone in the UK, since it's our royal family, we should also know who they are. Now, many people will think exactly that, but as to whether or not he's in any trouble, we don't think that's the case. Not least of which because we believe that it is in the public interest for him to have said what he said about all of this and to give his views on that because of his prominent figure. And that's a double-edged sword. If you are a prominent figure and you repeat an allegation, then that could be more damaging because you've repeated an allegation and you have a public platform. But the double-edged sword is if you use your public platform, and obviously it's Piers Morgan with a significant following, if he uses that platform to denounce these allegations and absolutely stand in favour of the royal family against all of this nonsense, then that is clearly not going to be defamatory in the way that he says it. And secondly, it is unlikely that, well, first of all, that the royal family will bring any lawsuit, although they are, as I understand it, considering a lawsuit, but much less likely, even if they do bring one, to bring it against him. So all in all, we don't think that there's anything for him to worry about there. And for what it's worth, I agree with his sentiments. I think these are baseless and ridiculous allegations. And just the way that it's been put across from that conversation, from the original interview with Meghan Markle and Oprah Winfrey, I just don't feel that this really holds any water to put it across in the way that she has. Because to have a conversation about what someone's skin color is going to be, or even how dark it's going to be, or even that there might have been concerns in that regard, if that is what was said, as she said it's what was said, even then, in my view, that is not inherently racist. I've said this in many videos before, and I don't think that is inherently racist. To have a conversation, even if you are concerned about it, the concern might arise through fears of how they might be treated, if they might be treated differently, with prejudice. Some people are prejudicial, and that's just one concern they might have. So all in all, those are my personal views. You will also catch me over on Popcorn Planet very shortly this evening. And please do subscribe here because we're on Black Belt Secrets. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.